I got this pair of pliers in a yard sale tool lot. I think they may have actually spent some time underground. Uh-oh, look at that. We've got ourselves a hairy situation. Man, that's gross. I started by brushing off the worst of the dirt and loose rust and hair. Then I dropped them in Evaporust. You can tell this batch had been used a bunch already. Here's the pliers after soaking for 24 hours and rinsed in water. I could just make out the Channellock marking. The pliers were in really bad shape. I decided to give them another 24 hours in the Evaporust. I felt like the Channellocks didn't improve much with the second 24-hour soak. So I tried a third soak in fresh Evaporust. The third soak made a definite improvement. I think that batch of Evaporust was just used up. I was able to get the nut loose with the help of a little WD-40. Here's the pliers disassembled. I felt like the pivot pin and nut were too decayed to save. I didn't have a lathe, but I had a nut and a bolt, a drill press, and a dream. I chucked the bolt up in my drill press like it was a drill bit. I used a coarse file, then a fine file, and finally sandpaper to match the diameter of the original pivot pin. Then I used my Dremel and a cutoff wheel to establish a shoulder and roughly turn down the step in the shaft. I used a small file to further shape the step. Here's the bolt cut down to length with the step shaft to match the old pivot pin. Not bad for not having a lathe. I cut 1/4 28 threads on the end of the shaft. Then I added 2 flats with a small file. Here's my pivot pin with threads and 2 flats. It fits pretty well. I used my hand drill and belt sander to shape the hex head to better match the original pin. I used a file to shape the hex nut to more closely resemble the original nut. The 2 halves of the wrench were badly pitted. I spent quite a bit of time on the belt sander trying to make them look respectable. I used a coarse wire wheel in my hand drill on the areas I couldn't reach with the belt sander. And I used a file to clean up the teeth on the jaws. I did end up using some flits because I'm insane. I dipped the handles in plasti-dip, mostly to cover up the ugly pitted metal. My plasti-dip was running low, so I was unable to coat as far up the handles as I would have liked. Sometimes I pick a project to work on not because the tool is unique or historic, but just to challenge myself. I wasn't sure if I could restore these Channellocks back to working order. These pliers are nowhere near perfect, but they are definitely functional. Making that new pivot pin was quite a challenge for my limited tools. I definitely gained experience that I can apply to future projects. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Here's some projects I have posted recently on Instagram. This is for my YouTube viewers that don't follow me on Instagram.